Hi everyone, Adrian here, welcome to Wild Bush and Grit. Before jumping into the thick of it, I have a caveat, alright? I started my research with much enthusiasm reading about the 6.5 PRC. I started crushing numbers, and the TLDR version of my answer is the 6.5 PRC is good, okay? But not unique. I have 2-3 cartridges in mind that do as well or better. Ballistically speaking, why the 6.5 PRC? 6.5 bullets are extremely capable. The Swedes knew that more than 100 years ago. 1890 to be precise. It's a lovely spot between weight and killing power. The 6.5 Creedmoor, I love the Creed. In my opinion, was the epitome of the 6.5s. Extremely efficient design. Fast twist rate that can stabilize a long bullet. Hate it or love it, its popularity attests to that. We know the 6.5 Creedmoor, while may not have the same energy of the 308 Winchester, for example, at close range, it surpasses the 308 when you reach 400 yards, thanks to those high ballistic coefficient of these bullets. The main critique of the Creedmoor is a slight lack of power. Even though it has killed many games in North America, it's been nicknamed the 6.5 Nidmore. Well, the 6.5 PRC fixed that for you. Okay? The 6.5 PRC will give you an average of 200-250 feet per second more than the Creed. The PRC is the Magnum version of the Creedmoor, but not the big powerful Magnum of your granddad. The recoil is still quite manageable. Is the 6.5 PRC the 6.5 Creed killer? It could be, but there's still many reasons to own a Creed. Lighter recoil, for example. But from a hunting perspective, if you want one cartridge, one that can do it all, 6.5 PRC will do it with gusto. But as I said, it's not unique. Let's look at some data and see where we land in the landscape of popular hunting cartridges. Okay, let's start with the comparison. For quickly on the table here, I'm using Hornady Precision Hunter eld-x as a ground for comparison for that apple to apple. I'm trying to limit myself to the short action and also in the 150 grain weight bullet. The thing that we anticipated, of course, here, the PRC versus the Creed, it's about 250 feet per second more. This is going to reflect with an advantage of about 12 inch of drop at 500 yards. And one thing I was surprised while I was crunching my number is actually how neck to neck the 6.5 Creed is to the 7mm 08. We usually often compare the 6.5 Creed to the 308 Winchester, but it's true that the neck down version of the 308 7mm should definitely do better than the 308 and have a more apple-to-apple comparison, I say, with the 6.5 Creed. So this is interesting because the 7mm 08 has, in this instance, has a better trajectory over the 6.5 Creedmoor, and it's surprising. At least it surprised me. I didn't know much about the 7mm 08 before making this video. Moving forward, allow me to step outside of the short action for a second. I want to compare the 6.5 PRC with the 270 Winchester. I am really surprised to see how neck to neck these two are. So of course one is long action, the other one is a short action, but they're roughly sending the same weight bullet. And upon saying this, I started thinking, okay, so if we only have about 1.5 inches of drop between the 6.5 PRC and the 270 Winchester, what happened when we go to the 270 Winchester short magnum? And this is where it gets interesting. So the Winchester short magnum, here it is, which is doing slightly better than the 270 Winchester, definitely is doing better than the 6.5 PRC. Marginally, I agree, but as I said previously, 6.5 PRC is good, but it's not unique, and the 270 Winchester short magnum was doing that years ago. If the 270 Winchester short magnum is, marginally better than the 6.5 PRC, then what does this mean to the 6.8 Western? Still short action, but the 6.8 Western is capable of sending heavier bullets, 165 grain in this instance. So the 6.8 Western here is not, of course, the Hornady Precision Hunter eld-x, because Hornady doesn't make 6.8 Western. So the bullet for comparison I'm using here is the Winchester Expedition Big Game, which is 165 AccuBond bullets. And those data are not the data out of the box, those are the data out of my lab radar when I was shooting at the range, calculating my velocity. This is the velocity at muzzle that I was getting, and then, with the ballistic solver, I got those numbers, which are actually fairly close to the one on the box. But all in all, what we have here is we truly have a cartridge, short action, that can send heavier bullets, that is doing, I would say, much better than the 6.5 PRC. Is the 6.5 PRC the new king? Definitely not. At least not by these numbers. Not even the queen. I would say the king is the 6.8 Western, followed by the 270 Winchester Short Magnum, and the 6.5 PRC would be the prince. So why go with the 6.5 PRC then? First reason, in my opinion, is amazing bullet selection, especially if you plan on reloading. Then you can really cater to your rifle with the best hunting bullets paired with the best charges and surpass any factory ammunition. Overall, that's true for any cartridges, but the wide selection of 6.5s really makes it a plus. You do not have that selection in 270s, for example. The second aspect is the rifle selection. 6.5 PRC rifles are everywhere. All major manufacturers are on board with the 6.5 PRC and is now widely available. The 270 WSM are rare in comparison, and for the 6.8 Western, you are limited to Winchester, Browning. I know now that Christensen Arms are making some, but from my experience, personal experience, little story here, Christensen Arms is really hit and miss, and mostly missed in my case. I made a video about it, telling my story. The rifle came back, still shoots like a potato, but I'm putting in a new chassis, possibly with a new trigger, and I'll see if I can fix it. But that's story for another video. And oh yeah, Sickens is also making a rifle for the 6.8 Western, but overall very limited. 6.5 PRC everywhere. Bottom line is Tikka, Ruger, Bergara, like mine actually, a Bergara, a 6.5. Everyone is making 6.5 now. And that's it. In my humble opinion, we're often making too much fuss about new cartridges. My bottom line with the 6.5 PRC is it's marginally better than the 270. So if you already have a 270 Winchester, don't rush to get a 6.5 PRC. But as I said, if you're new to the hunting world, I think you're going to love it, as much as the old folks love their 270s. See you, folks. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.